invite our first speaker, who is somebody who's been centrally involved with the Convoy to Calais, someone who has been an anti-racist campaigner all of her life. Please welcome Ms. Saleem.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Saleem, and I'm the very proud daughter of Pakistani immigrants. We are facing the biggest refugee crisis since the Second World War. Several million are fleeing war and persecution. More than 1 million have reached Europe, yet our government remains brutally cold, callous and racist in its response. Governments across Europe are failing to accept responsibilities as thousands are drowning in the Mediterranean, fleeing desperate situations at great risk to seek sanctuary. Instead of addressing the issues, fences and detention centres are being built, and the racist rhetoric of mainstream politics increases in hysteria day by day. Now, I've witnessed the refugee crisis firsthand. I've been to Syria, I've worked in refugee camps in Aleppo. I've seen thousands of children, unescorted children with no parents in squalid conditions in camps. I've seen Syrian widows, with no family, and it's completely horrific what you actually witness inside Syria. Now, I've also recently come back from the Macedonian borders, where as soon as I arrived at the Idamini camp, the refugees, children, pregnant women were being heavily tear-gassed by the Macedonian authorities. It was completely outrageous. Sadly, I expect to see inhumane conditions in Aleppo, but seeing those same conditions just less than 100 miles away from London in Calais, where I have actually stayed for short periods to build relationships with our brothers and sisters, is completely wrong and disgraceful. They are living in like slum conditions. Now, in Calais, there's some 5,000 people are living in squalid conditions. They are mostly men, but also include women and children, and some with serious medical requirements. Most are asylum seekers, more arrive each day, having survived traumatic journeys of thousands of miles, fleeing the devastation, perils and trauma of their lives in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Somalia, Sudan and Libya. Many arrive desperately hungry, in need of urgent medical attention and without basic necessities such as warm clothing or even shoes. Now, at least 10,000 unaccompanied child refugees have disappeared after arriving in Europe, and this was according to the EU's Criminal Intelligence Agency. Many have feared to have fallen into the hands of organised trafficking syndicates for sexual trafficking and slavery. I mean, this is happening today. It's absolutely horrific. Now, the Convoy to Calais will be a huge political statement demanding a different approach, one of compassion and solidarity. David Cameron has refused to let more refugees in. Instead, the Tories have resorted to a racist rhetoric and policies. The UK government has even deported thousands of child refugees back to the war zones of Afghanistan, Iraq and Syria, and even to the heavily bombed city of Aleppo. On Holocaust Memorial Day, David Cameron referred to the refugees in Calais as just a bunch of migrants, and previously he called them a swarm, as if they were insects spreading infection. I mean, this dehumanizing language should raise alarm bells in people's ears of the echoes of the 1930s. Now, despite the fact that the refugee crisis has been largely caused by Western interventions, occupations and subsequent wars, the wars are the main drivers of the flows of refugees, but the elite's policies of cuts and austerity means they can barely manage a planned humane response. So we must never ever forget that this country has been built and nourished by immigrants. So the convoy to Calais tomorrow will be a 250 vehicle convoy coming from Britain to the refugee camps to Calais. But we are facing a last minute ban by the French authorities at Dover, who are citing security concerns. Now, the French authorities would like to pretend that the camp does not exist and they don't want to draw attention to the camp. I mean, this convoy to Calais has been planned for months. And if they do deny us entry, then we will have a demonstration at Dover. I mean, there is a huge need of aid in both warehouses. They've actually run out of aid, and this is desperately needed for the refugees in the camp. And also, you know, with all the negativity around migrants, we want to show solidarity that we have not forgotten about our brothers and sisters less than 100 miles from London. I mean, we've even planned like a football match for, you know, once we get there, face painting for children. You know, it will be a day of activities. So we will travel to Dover, whatever happens, and demand that we get on the ferry, as we've all purchased tickets and they've already been paid for. I mean, this is practical aid, but it's also a huge statement of hope in humanity and a demonstration that we will not forget those who are still stranded with no homes and no future. This is a time to come together and say we have a moral responsibility. It falls on us to help our brothers and sisters in the refugee camps in Calais, seeing as our UK government is not doing anything about it. If the convoy is turned away at the ferry terminal, we will stage a mass protest at the undemocratic and authoritarian decision. Now, join me and say, David Cameron, hear us say, refugees are here to stay. David Cameron, hear us say, refugees are here to stay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Naz. Now I'd like to